it up, swashbucklers! You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 132. My name's Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show each and every week. Here we are again. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for telling your friends, donating money, visiting sponsors, all that stuff that helps me keep the old boat afloat. I very much appreciate it. So, episode number 132 is a long one today. We got a double interview. We're doing a twofer, and it'll all make sense in a second. But first, fun fact about the number 132. In the year 132, a Chinese scientist named Zhang Hang invented the first seismometer to determine the exact cardinal direction of earthquakes hundreds of miles away. And it used a series of complex gears around a single swinging central pendulum. And that blows my mind because we still use seismometers. Now, they're more advanced today, but 130, the year 132, invented a seismometer. Who knew? My guests on the show today, like I said, we're doing a twofer, Sophia Cancelli and Ces Erdman of the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary. Now, we've talked a little bit on the show before about pirates and parrots and how much of that is true and whatever. We're not talking history today. What we're talking about today is a parrot sanctuary where unwanted parrots go to live out their lives in happiness. And they're unwanted for a variety of reasons that we'll hear during the interviews. And so how does it connect to pirates? Well, Sophia is definitely a pirate. She runs the fundraising for the Parrot Sanctuary, and she is very heavily into the pirate scene. And they do pirate-connected events at the Parrot Sanctuary. So that's how it all clicks in here, and it'll all make sense once we get into the interviews. So that's coming up. Boy, I had a weekend. Is meat hangover a thing? Is that a thing? Can you have a meat hangover? Because I think I had that Saturday. Friday was my birthday. Thank you. I am now 100 years old. And it was my birthday. And thank you for the folks that sent well wishes and things like that. I appreciate it. I didn't do anything big except for eat way too much this year is what I did. I had pizza with my girlfriend at our favorite place, Pizza Chicago. And then we had some barbecue for dinner with my parents. And there was a lot of meat involved in general. There were burgers happening, and I like Saturday morning felt just like bleh, like couldn't wake up, and it was all draggy. And I think I had a meat hangover. I don't know if that's a thing, but it is now. And then I spent the rest of the weekend mostly doing my taxes. So woohoo! Happy birthday weekend to me, and they're not even done yet. Ah, yes, must be done. I'm trying to get it done before we go to Paris. I know it seems like it might be a little bit early, but I'm trying to get them done before we go to Paris so that I don't have to think about it during my vacation. Speaking of Paris, what we did on Sunday is I had to go buy some new shoes because we're going to be doing a lot of walking in Paris, and the ones I have are a little bit too worn out to do that kind of walking. As I learned last year in London, same pair of shoes. I'm one of those guys that's got one pair of shoes. I have like two pairs, but one of them I wear. And that's it. And the other pair are dress shoes for things when I'm wearing a suit, which is not that often. So my shoes are a little worn out, so I had to go get some shoes. And my girlfriend says, look, we can't wear like tennis shoes, like sneaker kind of shoes, because that makes you stick out like a tourist, because apparently they don't do that there. So we're at the shoe store, and I got to find a pair of shoes that I can walk like lots of miles in, but also don't look like sneakers, don't look like tennis shoes. And that is difficult to do. And I always end up, like, I'm not a big shoe guy at all. Usually I just buy black shoes. I end up going to the section where you get like nursing shoes and just like business shoes, like work shoes. You know, they're not interesting looking at all. They're just black and they're comfortable. And that's all I need. So anyway, I'm looking for something that's not sneakery, but that I can do a lot of walking in. And I didn't go for the black shoes again because they were looking a little sneaker. I'm like, I don't know. And so it was just driving me nuts. I hate shoe shopping with a passion. And so I said, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the French Amazon. I'm going to go to amazon.fr. I'm going to put in men's walking shoes, and I'm going to see what the popular walking shoes in France are. And I did that, and it was just all Tennessee shoe looking sneakery stuff with the bright colors, the same garbage we wear here. So I didn't worry about it after that, and I bought a pair of Adidas, and now I'm good to go. They are black Adidas, though, so I won't stick out too much. But I just thought it was hilarious that we thought the shoes are what's going to make us stick out as a tourist, stick out as Americans in Paris. It won't be our possibly minute grasp of the French language or anything else about us. It's just the shoes. Just the shoes are going to make us stick out. But before we go, I've got some shows coming up that you can come out and see me do some jokes and some songs. This Thursday, March the 8th, I'll be at the Blue Lagoon in Santa Cruz, California. March the 9th, that's Friday, I'll be at the Variety Theater in San Francisco, California. That is a super fun show. March the 13th, I'll be at Double Decker Lanes in Rohnert Park, California, headlining that one. March the 20th, which I believe is a Tuesday, I'll be at the Starline, Oakland, California. March the 21st, Diablo Valley Bowl in Concord, California. That's right, 2 bowling alleys this month. How you like me now? And March the 23rd, I'll be at the First Street Cafe in Benicia, California. There are non-California dates coming up soon, I promise you. Go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the tour dates button, and you can see when I'm coming to a town near you. And if I'm not coming to your town, get in touch. We'll make it happen. We'll find a place to play, bring an audience. We'll make it happen. I want to come where you are. And let's see what else. Oh, I have the 30-day guitar challenge. Have you ever wanted to learn how to play guitar? Or maybe you've tried to learn how to play guitar before and just kind of fell off the game and you're trying to get back on. Or maybe you kind of know some stuff, but you don't know how to play any real songs. When people go, oh, you play guitar? Play me a song. And you go, I don't know any songs. I got you set up. We're going to do the 30-day guitar challenge. And this is, you're going to learn 3 songs in 30 days with no more than 10 minutes of practice per day. That is doable. That is absolutely doable. 10 minutes of practice a day. You're going to learn 3 songs in 1 month from zero, from I've never touched a guitar before. All right. And this is a course that I've written, and it leads into a longer, more exaggerated, a longer guitar course after that. But the 30-day guitar challenge, completely free for you to take part. Go to underthecrossbones.com/guitar. And you can check that out. And it's taught by me. So one of my many other skills happening right there. Again, that's underthecrossbones.com/guitar. We have been having a bunch of fun over on Facebook. Come visit us at facebook.com/underthecrossbones. On Twitter, we're at undercrossbones, no the there. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the show, whatever your pod feed of choice is. And you can get all the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/132. If you want to help support the show with some of the sponsor visits or donations or whatever it is, you can do that at underthecrossbones.com/support. There's a little PayPal box right there. You can drop a donation in there, whatever amount you feel is appropriate. Thanks for you guys that are doing that. If you don't want to give me any money, that's fine. There's an Amazon banner there. Click the Amazon banner. Go give Amazon your money. And then for whatever you're going to get, and then Amazon kicks me back a few shekels, and that helps too. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, that's cheap and easy to do. All the information is there. Again, that's underthecrossbones.com/support. All right, we got a big, meaty episode to get into today, so let's do that now. First, like I said, it's a twofer. We're going to hear first from Sophia Cancelli, and then I'll come back and chat with you for a second after that, and then we'll get into Ces Erdman's interview. All right, here we go. Here she is, Sophia Cancelli from the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary. Enjoy. As we jump in here, we're going to talk about the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary. But first, tell me a little bit about your background in the pirate community, because I know you're a 2018 Leviathan inductee. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I guess it's probably going on. I'd say it's going on about 10 years now that I have been affiliated with the pirate community at large. Uh-huh. And I was in college in Wilmington, North Carolina, many years ago. And one day I was sitting at a restaurant, and pirates just busted out a sword fight right in front of the restaurant.
Okay.
And unbeknownst to me, we were actually having a pirate festival in Wilmington. I didn't know anything about it. And I thought to myself, wow, that is so cool. One of these days, I want to do that. I want to be a pirate one day. Well, yeah, I graduated from college, and I had a job in the film industry, so I was always traveling and never really settled. But once I stopped working in the film industry and settled into my current occupation as a full-time college instructor, then I had the time and the money to pursue the hobbies that I always wanted to pursue, one being a pirate. So I literally woke up one day and said, I remember all those years ago when I was in college and I saw those pirates fighting on the street. I want to be one of those people. So I just did an internet search and looked for pirates in North Carolina, and I found out that Beaufort had a pirate invasion.
Sure.
And there was a professional sword combat troupe, the Shadow Players in Raleigh. So I became acquainted with those folks, and I had a very weird skill. I formerly was a belly dancer, and I did a lot of entertaining with swords on my head and spinning swords and throwing swords and doing all kinds of crazy things with swords. So when I got to know the Shadow Players, they actually picked me up as their opening act for the North Carolina Symphony was performing a night of pirate music at the Coca-Booth Amphitheater.
Neat.
And the Shadow Players were going to be the opening act right before the symphony. But for about an hour prior to that, they just wanted somebody entertaining the crowd.
Okay.
And so I literally spent an hour walking around the Coca-Booth Amphitheater, as a pirate character balancing a sword on my head and doing crazy shtick like everybody had their picnic set up. So I would come over to somebody's picnic and do a little dance with a sword on my head, and if they invited me to enjoy the picnic with them, I would take my sword and collect my strawberries or their cheese or whatever with my sword and kind of eat it off the tip of my sword just to be silly.
Nice.
So from that one experience, I kind of built a working relationship with the Shadow Players and did different shows with them. And then from there, I fell into being a performer at festivals. So I started a little dance troupe called the Wenches of Sirens Call, and we did folkloric dance with swords. We were just kind of a fun novelty act. And we performed at the Tybee Island Pirate Festival, Bald Head Islands Pirate Weekend, Blackbeard Festival up in Hampton, Virginia, Beaufort Pirate Invasion. And so, that's kind of how I got into the pirate community as a whole, was being an entertainer in the festival circuit.
Okay.
And, like so many things, age takes abilities away from you. And, when my body finally said, hey, it's time to call performing on the stage with heavy swords on your head quits, then I kind of switched. I stayed in the pirate community, but I switched scales, and I started doing more living history and more fundraising. And so that's kind of when I came into contact with the fine folks at Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, and just started really doing more. Instead of doing performing, where sometimes I would make a little bit of money, I started doing just all volunteer work and trying to get money into the hands of charities that needed it through my efforts being a pirate.
Nice. All right, I have some questions. So what were you doing in the film industry?
I was a makeup artist, I worked on movies like The Patriot, Cold Mountain. I predominantly worked doing low-grade special effects makeup second unit. So I was pretty much out there with the stuntmen. Yeah. And so I was always working with the stuntmen, putting blood on them, putting scars on them. For some reason, they always paired me up with stuntmen that were getting ready to be set on fire. And that was really fun. Or stuntmen getting thrown off of castle walls, falling into moats.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had a lot of fun doing that.
That's an intriguing part of the whole filmmaking process, and the little bits of acting that I've done. My least favorite and my favorite part of the process is the makeup chair, because it's tedious as can be for the actor. But then when you look in a mirror and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a different person. And I've always found that to be a very cool part of it. That's interesting.
Oh yeah. Well, and one of my favorite films that I worked on was the original, not the remake, not the offshoots, but the original Cabin Fever. Okay. I was actually the makeup supervisor on that, and I got to work with a gentleman named Garrett Amell, who is part of K&B, Greg Nicotero of The Walking Dead fame. Okay. And Garrett is one of the makeup artists on The Walking Dead. And he basically sculpted the makeup and the prosthetics, and he would apply the prosthetics, and I got to help him paint the prosthetics and monitor the actors on set. And now the film industry in North Carolina dried up, and I ended up going into education. But to this day, I can't help but wonder if I had not stayed in the film industry, if I wouldn't be on The Walking Dead right now as a makeup artist. Yeah, there's always a small part of me that just wants to cry inside when I watch The Walking Dead, thinking I could have created that brain-eating creature. But no, I'm teaching college English.
That's funny. So then what? So the film industry there was drying up, which I guess is starting to. Is it coming back a little bit now, from what I've heard down there?
It vacillates so much. I mean, it did make a comeback, and we had Sleepy Hollow, which was doing quite well, but quite literally in the middle, I believe, of an episode of Sleepy Hollow, the tax incentive was not renewed, and so Sleepy Hollow packed up and left and went to another state. I've heard rumblings just in news reports that I've seen that they're thinking about bringing back the tax incentive, or some incentives to get the film industry back to North Carolina. So it comes in waves. Sometimes we have just tons of shows, and other times there's nothing. In fact, it was really sad. A friend of mine had called me. She lives in Pennsylvania, and she said, hey, I want to be an extra on Sleepy Hollow, and I heard it was filming in your area. Can I come be an extra and sleep on your couch? And I said, you can, but I believe they've relocated to Louisiana, so it would be a really long drive from my couch to set. So she had missed her window of opportunity.
Yeah. So fickle, the entertainment business. It really is.
Yeah.
You can easily look at your calendar and go, oh, my calendar is empty. And I'm in the midst of one of those.
Oh, gosh. Well, there was one week in particular, I had piggybacked 3 different productions. And I was working on a commercial for the United States Marine Corps, where I had driven from Wilmington, North Carolina, down to Beaufort, South Carolina, to do makeup for a Marine Corps promotional video. And as soon as I got done with that commercial, I drove all the way to Wallace, North Carolina, without sleep, without anything, and worked on a movie called The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood.
Okay.
And as soon as I got done with that, I think I turned around and went back to South Carolina, somewhere in the Charleston area, and started work on something else. And I went for like a 3 or 4 day stretch where I had no sleep, and the details are so vague to me right now. I remember doing the job, I remember getting paid, but the details are gone because I just slept walk through the whole thing.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, that'll happen. So then you go into teaching English. Why English? Why was that the subject?
In my mind, I thought, because I was working in the film industry and I loved what I was doing, but, there's only so long that a person can take the weird hours and the erratic schedule and the lack of good health insurance.
Sure.
So I said, I think I might want to produce, because I worked on enough television shows to know what producers did, and I knew that they did it in offices between working hours.
Right.
So I thought, I want to stay in the film industry. And so I thought, and I also didn't want to pay back a student loan I had taken out as an undergraduate student. So I thought, hey, if I get my master's degree in English, I won't have to pay my student loan back right away. And maybe just having a little bit more experience with more theatrical type things will give me an opportunity to go into production. So that was my thinking. I'm sure it doesn't work that way at all. But I figured, hey, a master's degree in English can help me in so many fields.
Sure.
So while I was working on my master's degree, that was the exact same time, right around the time I finished up my master's degree, was when the first wave of the big film the film stuff that we had going on in North Carolina, when that dried up and went away.
Okay.
So there I was with a master's degree and no film industry jobs, and my options basically were get a job teaching locally and stay in a house that I had purchased, or sell my house and pack up and move somewhere else. And so at that time, I just really wanted some stability, because I had a really nice house with a swimming pool and a nice neighborhood near the beach. And I thought, I'm just going to take a break from the film industry and go into teaching. And I honestly hadn't planned on doing teaching as a full-time career, but I've now in my 14th year of being a full-time college educator. So
nice.
I'm working my way to retirement. And then once I retire, then I will become full-time pirate volunteer fundraiser person.
Nice. Now, do your students know that their professor is a belly dancing pirate?
Yes, yes. And the funny thing about that is, every once in a while I will be at a festival. The community that I live in is quite small, and it's a military town.
Okay.
I live near Jacksonville, North Carolina, and work in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and I actually teach all of my college level English courses at Camp Lejeune or the Marine Corps Air Station.
Oh, okay.
So 90% of my students are active duty Marines. And we have a lot of community events, and I go to a lot of community events as a pirate with my pirate friends. And the thing that is really funny is when I am dressed as a pirate doing pirate things, and my grown adult student introduces me to their children, and their kids are like, "Oh my God, Dad, your teacher's a pirate." Their kids are blown away by that. And I have had grown students come to pirate festivals and jump in and participate with things. One of my students got up on a stage and started singing sea shanties with a pirate band called the Motley Tones.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So my students know all about that. And because most of my students are young Marines with children, I always invite them to the events, the fundraising events that I do that are free, to a lot of the pirate festivals, because they feel special when they get to say, "Hey, I know that pirate over there."
Nice.
So that's a really fun thing.
That's great. So you're doing less of the dancing now, but how did you, the belly dancing stuff? Belly dancers are some of my favorite people because they are generally less crazy than real dancers. Or other types of I don't want to say real dancers, but other types of dancers.
Yeah.
Other types of dancers can be very difficult to deal with, but belly dancers are very down to earth. I somehow years ago fell in with a bunch of belly dancers, and I was the comic relief at a bunch of belly dance events, which was
nice.
Very strange. I mean, if talking fish out of water, but it worked. It was a lot of fun. So we used to do combination belly dance, comedy events, and all sorts of fun stuff there. So I've seen the sword dances and things; those are really great. What got you into that as a precursor to the pirate thing?
Well, that actually, everything kind of has been attached to something else. Many years ago, when I was really young, I was probably in my early 20s, I was in a play. And the play that I was in, I played a very... the youngest sister out of a large group of sisters. And I played the youngest sister who was shy and was always getting picked on by her older sisters. Okay. And so they grow up, and the sisters, every year the sisters throw a costume party kind of as a family reunion. And so my character showed up at the costume party dressed as Salome and did the dance of the seven veils. Okay. Well, being a theater person, I decided that it wasn't good enough just to make up my own dance. So I actually started taking belly dance classes so I could bring real cultural Middle Eastern dance to my character in the play. Nice. And I ended up liking belly dance so much that I kind of stuck with it. Pretty much as a form of exercise. And then, many years later was when I got into the performing side of belly dance.
Okay, interesting. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you were doing that, and that would be a unique thing. It's not something I see a lot in the pirate community. That sort of, there's a little bit of that Middle Eastern influence that creeps into some of the pirate stuff, but not as much as I think there could be. So that's pretty interesting. How was it taken the first few times you did it? Were people kind of thrown off by it, or were they cool with it?
I think they were cool with it. It was really different. I think it was just, and the thing is, people are always trying to make sense of things. So some of the questions they would ask is, well, how do belly dancers and pirates, relate? And so, then the teacher, me, got to give them some information on maybe some of the sea routes that pirates would have traveled and the different cultures they would have come in contact with, and how a lot of the dances we were performing were really cultural dances, and these were the things that pirates may have seen that they thought were unique. So, it's actually, I'm finding it's a little bit more popular among some pirate festivals and pirate communities to have belly dancers. For instance, the St. Augustine Swashbucklers in St. Augustine, Florida, obviously. Yeah. Really, really great friends of mine. The majority of the people in that crew are really great friends of mine, and they actually have some belly dancers who are part of the crew. And so anytime you go to a festival, a St. Augustine Swashbucklers produced festival, you will find belly dancers. So they kind of have actually taken belly dancers and brought them into their crew. Also, I know that I think it was a Northern California Pirate Festival started having belly dancers. And I remember I didn't get to go to the festival personally, but I did see video footage and photos online on Facebook. They had some belly dancers dancing on a replica pirate ship with snakes and swords.
Oh, neat.
And that was really cool. So I think kind of it's almost like pirate festivals are akin to Renaissance festivals in a way.
Sure.
And so just like you would have different cultural dances, folkloric dances at a Renaissance festival, you're now seeing that a little bit more at the pirate festivals, bringing in a little bit more variety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's great. Let's talk about the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary. Not Pirate Sanctuary. They have a sanctuary.
Yeah.
The Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary that you're the head fundraiser for the organization. So tell me what that organization does.
Okay, well, Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, it is a bona fide 501c3 not-for-profit organization. And it is a permanent home for abused, neglected, unwanted parrots or parrots who just can't stay within their current home situation for a variety of reasons. So they don't do any adopting. It's kind of like some parrots are there in sort of a boarding school situation. For instance, there's a family. They had brought a parrot to have live at the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary because they couldn't take care of it anymore. Their kids were growing up. Their kids were going to college, things like that. And they just didn't have the time to really care for the bird the way it needed to be cared for. So it lives at the sanctuary, but they still come to see it and they bring it food.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then we have another situation where and, a lot of people think, and it's true, Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary is an organization that helps birds, avian species, but there's still kind of a humanitarian component to it because we recently had a family bring their birds because one of their family members has been diagnosed terminally ill with cancer. And so they had to create a bucket list for the family member, and they needed to start fulfilling the bucket list and traveling and doing these things. And so, of course, a parrot is a lot of work. They're very high maintenance birds.
Sure.
And so the parrot, their pet parrot, is now living at the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, freeing this family up to do the things they need to do before this family member passes away.
Oh, that's good. That's real good.
Yeah.
So how much of it is stories like that where people are bringing in the birds and saying, we can't, for whatever reason, take care of this bird anymore, versus finding birds that are just neglected and having to sort of rescue them?
I think I'm going to guess it's fairly even. I would have to ask Seth, the president, to know for sure. But based on my conversations with him, it seems to be somewhat equal. Recently, I think it might have been, it was probably sometime in 2017, there was a pet store in South Carolina that was closed by the authorities because they weren't properly caring for their animals. And the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary acquired several birds that were confiscated in a raid by the authorities. And the same thing happened somewhere in North Carolina. I believe it was last winter. There was somebody, maybe in the western part of the state, their neighbors had called the authorities because they had several parrots in animal crates in the yard in the snow.
Oof.
So, yeah, animals that are confiscated in abuse or neglect cases are delivered to the sanctuary, and people will bring their birds in when they can no longer care for them. Because, realistically, parrots have a very long life.
Yeah.
And if someone has a parrot and the parrot outlives the owner, that person's family may or may not want to take care of the parrot or may not be in a position to take care of the parrot.
Sure, yeah.
So, it's... and I think, and Seth probably would agree with me on this, it's nobody ever expected the sanctuary to end up with as many birds as it does have, because it's got well over 200, maybe 250 birds.
Wow.
And so it's a good thing because there is a home for these birds. They're well taken care of. They get the medical care that they need. Sess, the president of the sanctuary, has a very good working relationship with the veterinary office in Wilmington, North Carolina, and they take care of the birds exclusively. There have been times when the birds have had to go to, I think it's North Carolina State that has the big veterinary medicine school. We've had birds that had to have their toes amputated, birds that have had things as strange as yeast infections. A lot of the birds have behavioral issues. Some of the birds are pluckers. That's where they kind of, out of a nervous reaction, they're pulling their own feathers out.
Sure, yeah.
So they look a little odd. So this is a permanent home for birds. There are some birds there that are very friendly, that love to be handled. There are other birds there with huge issues that you can't go near them. They're going to claw at you. They're going to bite you. They're going to squawk at you. So, whether a bird is a wonderful pet that just needs to be rehomed because its owners are facing challenges, or whether these birds were mistreated, they're all going to live out their natural lives at the sanctuary. They're building new aviaries all the time. There's different aviaries for the different species. They all get to live in flocks. And that's something, sometimes these birds, if people are breeding these birds to sell them, they're not integrating them into a flock situation.
Right.
So they come to the sanctuary, and as long as their behavior warrants them the ability to get along well with other birds, they can hang out with their friends and fly in the aviaries and have really great lives. So, it's a very nice situation when you consider the alternative of what could happen to an animal that is confiscated in an abuse case.
Yeah, certainly. What I never quite understood about those is that those birds are not cheap to acquire. They're very expensive birds.
Yeah.
And then just kind of ignore it and abuse it like that. Just, I don't understand, just from a financial standpoint, why you would do that. It makes no sense. Is it, do you have any insight into that? Is it just, I don't understand it.
I don't. Well, it's the same thing. It's got to be the same premise as, why people drop animals off at the shelter.
Yeah.
It's just, I think a lot of times people feel that having a more exotic animal as a pet is a really cool idea, or it's something fun to do. But then once they realize how much work it is to maintain exotic animals, it's a little bit different. Because yes, they're very, and they want human interaction. I have a very needy dog, and I know that there are parrots at the sanctuary that are probably 10 times as needy as my dog. And I'm like, wow, I couldn't imagine. At least I can go to work and leave my dog alone for a while. But sometimes some of these birds, it's just like that. They suffer from separation anxiety. They don't want to be left alone. They end up with preferences. They will become very attached to one person in particular, and they might hate the rest of the family. Yep. So in those cases, the first thought is, well, the bird doesn't like my husband, or the bird doesn't like my stepson that I have just acquired. I got to get rid of the bird because the human family takes priority. Yeah. And it just, there's a variety of reasons. I don't think that the people who run the sanctuary, the day-to-day operations people, I don't think that they really quiz these people on why they're getting rid of the bird. They just, try to do the best they can for the bird and make sure that there aren't other options.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. My girlfriend's parents had 5 or 6 birds, all in the parrot family, for a long time, and I was not popular with those birds. They were not fond of me at all.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. We've got this, oh my God, the cutest little pink guy over at the sanctuary named Atticus. And he does not like men. He will squawk at men who walk by his aviary. But he loves me. And Seth said that I probably remind the bird of his prior female owner. And whenever he sees me, I'll start talking to him, and he'll press his head against the mesh wiring of the aviary because he wants me to rub his head. So I put my finger in there and I rub his head, and his little pink cheeks puff up and he starts to coo, and it's just so sweet. But then I'll wander over to another aviary. Maybe I'm helping Sess feed some birds or something, or I'm just wandering around, and there will be a bird that does not like women or doesn't like me for whatever reason, and it will just start squawking at me. So, they all have their preferences, and, there are some birds at the sanctuary that Sess can never physically handle. They live in the aviary, and he goes in there and feeds them, but he would not be able to, they're not going to perch on his arm, they're not going to interact with them, they're just going to keep their distance.
So is his plan generally, does he do any sort of rehabilitation, like physical, I'm sure, but any sort of personality or behavior rehabilitation, or does he just kind of let them be themselves?
Well, I think they kind of have to be themselves. I don't really know enough about I don't know anything about bird psychology. So, I don't even know. I do know that there are birds that come to the sanctuary and they have behavioral issues, and they do integrate themselves into a flock and they do better. But then on the flip side of the coin, Bo, who I renamed Two Toes Bo. Bo, this really gorgeous blue and gold macaw, he's gorgeous. He had to have two toes amputated. Well, after the surgery, the flock couldn't be near him. They would basically attack him. So an aviary had to be built specifically for him because he couldn't be reintegrated into the flock. There was just something about that surgery that made the rest of the birds not keen on him.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, yeah. And I'm sure that there are people I don't know everything there is to know about parrots. The little things I do know, I've learned from Sess. But, I'm sure that there are people out there that are, have a lot more information and knowledge about parrots. So usually if somebody asks me a question I can't answer it, I always tell them, ask Sess, because he's the day-to-day operator there. He takes care of the birds. He takes them to their doctor appointments. He's the one who is with them day in and day out.
Sure.
He's the guy with the expert information. Because I always like to make sure that if anybody, whether they be somebody in the pirate community or just a member of the general public, if they have any questions about the sanctuary, I want to make sure they get a really good, legitimate answer.
Sure.
Because, it's something that, I really like the birds. I think the sanctuary is a beautiful place. It's just, I feel very fortunate that I live close to the sanctuary and I can drive over there whenever I want and walk around and interact with these birds. And I realize this is something that people don't get to see on a regular basis.
Sure, yeah.
So I try to let people know that I'm not the expert on the parrots. I help with fundraising and I try to learn as much as I can, but by no stretch of the imagination do I know everything there is to know about, any of the parrot species or the birds who live at the sanctuary.
So what kind of stuff do you do in your fundraising capacity?
Oh, wow. Well, we do open days at the sanctuary where we do small-scale pirate invasions.
Okay.
The parrot sanctuary itself is located on private property, and it's in a very isolated part of a rural part of North Carolina. And that is, it's done that way for a reason. The parrots need serenity. They need safety. They need to be in a location where people aren't going to be visiting them on a regular basis because a lot of them do have issues.
Sure.
So they're isolated on private property, and the sanctuary is not open to the public for the benefit of the birds.
Okay.
So it's not a zoo. So once a year, we open up to the public at large. And so for that open day, every year, we do something with the pirates. I've got some friends. There's a really nice children's education troupe. They're called the Pieces of Eight troupe. Okay. And they do really cool stuff. They teach children how to read a map, how to pilot a ship, how to raise a sail. So they come in and they help with things. So we try to do, and I say small scale pirate invasion because there's no way we could have a black powder demo at the Parrot Sanctuary.
Right. Yeah.
The birds would freak. That would create so much stress for them.
Sure. Yeah.
So we keep it to kind of the more, kind of interpersonal type of pirate activities. We hold raffles. The pirate community at large in the entire United States of America have helped with fundraising efforts. So, for instance, Talderoy and the fine folks at Studio City Tattoo, they donated some beautiful jewelry and some T-shirts, and I was actually able to auction that stuff off online on Facebook.
Nice.
And raise money. Jesse, with his company is called Pirate Code Beard Oil.
Yep.
He has actually bid on items and paid good money for things we were auctioning off. So he's stepped up to the plate and helped. There are lots of people, Loose Cannon Company, a pirate reenactment crew out of North Carolina and Virginia. They donated a bunch of really cool T-shirts. So we do everything from creating needs drives where we might set up with Charlie the Picasso of Parrots and his paintings.
Okay.
We may set up in a banquet hall in a restaurant or at a coffee shop, and people will come and drop off items. So, we'll advertise, hey, we need birdseed, we need dish soap, we need sponges, we need some parrot toys. Come see us. We'll be at the coffee shop for a couple hours. You can meet Charlie the Picasso of Parrots. You can buy his painting. And so we'll do small-scale needs drives in that vein to kind of gather items that we need for the day-to-day operations.
Nice.
And then we do the larger fundraisers. Sometimes they will incorporate a silent auction. Sometimes we'll do raffles. And actually in February, we are going to be doing a wonderful fundraiser for the Parrot Sanctuary incorporating belly dancers. We are going to be doing a needs drive at a really cool hookah bar in Wilmington called the Juggling Gypsy Cafe.
Okay.
And this really awesome group of belly dancers called the Barefoot Gypsies who help out so much with fundraising. They are going to be performing, and these ladies are great. They're wonderful belly dancers. They do all the really wonderful dances with the swords. And anytime the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary has anything going on, they always ask if they can help, or they'll actually donate money too. So
nice.
One of our biggest benefactors is the Barefoot Gypsies, and they're a local belly dance troupe, and they're really wonderful ladies, good friends of mine. We do everything from small-scale needs drives to silent auctions to online auctions with items that people in the pirate community and maybe local merchants have donated. We do Pirates Invade Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, and actually that's going to be coming up. In March, we have Pirates Invade Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary. I believe it's March 24th. Yep, I'm looking at my calendar, March 24th.
Okay.
We also, when Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary goes to a festival as a nonprofit vendor, we will show up and we'll kind of walk around the festival and say, hey, you need to go to the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary tent and meet Charlie the Picasso of Parrots. So we kind of serve as rabble-rousing carnival barkers at festivals to draw attention to the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary booth at a variety of festivals. Yeah. I have written a small story called Pirates for Parrots, and it's a little fictitious account of how the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary came into being and how parrots got involved. And the story incorporates the characters are real parrots who actually live at the sanctuary and real pirates who are friends of mine. So right now I've got the book in small kind of, I call it handcrafted form, where I've kind of put it together, and we do readings from the story at different events. We'll sell copies of this at the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary tent when they vend at different festivals. And I've actually fleshed out the story a little bit more, and I've got the full chapter book ready to go to press.
Nice.
And so, and I've written the book. There are photographs in the book of real pirate friends with their own parrots, with the real parrot and pirate characters. And that is something that I am producing for the sanctuary to use as a fundraising tool.
Nice.
So I'm not going to get a penny for that book. Once that book is produced as an actual book and it's on the market for sale, 100% of the proceeds are going to go to the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary.
Nice. That's fantastic.
So, yeah, I try to be creative and think out of the box, and it's just kind of like we never turn down a creative idea. For instance, I've got some wonderful pirate friends who, just as a hobby, they make those wonderful beaded clips that you can clip to your hat or clip in your hair.
Sure.
Kind of the Jack Sparrow type hair clip. And they just suddenly and without warning sent me an entire box of these hair clips. And we were able to sell those to raise funds. I had another friend who just happened to be at a antique store and found this really cool pirate, or I think it was like a little pirate statue. And she just thought it was so cool, so she bought it and donated it to the sanctuary to auction off.
Nice.
And then another thing I did, again, I'm always thinking out of the box, thinking creatively. The college where I teach, we're getting rid of books in the library because, in our contemporary day and age, everything's electronics.
Sure.
Who needs books? Who needs paper? So they actually had this really cool 1884 volume of an encyclopedia.
Oh, wow.
And they were throwing away these books.
Oh, no.
So, these were big, huge, heavy, leather-bound books with just beautiful images, wonderful information. So they gave me a few of these books, and I took them home, and I thought, what can I do with these books? They're so cool. I want to do something decorative with them. Well, then I started, seeing people on Facebook and in different chat groups saying, hey, does anybody know how to make the pirate code book? And I was like, holy cow, there it is.
Yeah.
So I took these 1884 encyclopedias and I just added pages to them with pirate prayers and the pirate code. And then I embellished the covers and I kind of made them look like they would have been this huge codex that some pirate would have had on his ship, just like in the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. And so I created 2 of those, and I auctioned those off. So they're unique, they're original. No more will ever exist. So the people who had the highest winning bid on those have some really unique items. And again, their money went straight to the sanctuary.
Nice.
So, anytime I do an online auction or I'm selling something online, the way I handle it is the person will pay, whoever got the highest bid or whoever's purchasing the item, they pay the sanctuary directly through the sanctuary's PayPal account.
Okay.
So, so anything that I do fundraising-wise, it's 100% going straight to the sanctuary.
Sure. So outside of the just sort of day-to-day needs of the birds and maintenance and that kind of stuff, what is the big plan for the sanctuary? Where would you guys like to see it go?
Wow. Well, I think Sess, who is the president of the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, he actually is renting land from a large farm.
Okay.
I think ultimately he would like to have his own property that he owns and lives on so that he can be there every minute of the day, except for maybe when he needs a little bit of a vacation. But I think he would just like to have his own property that he could live on and just expand the sanctuary to meet the needs, because he's always going to adhere to the original mission, which is it's a parrot sanctuary. He is only going to take in birds that are in the parrot family.
Sure.
But I think that he would like to expand. I know right now he's working towards getting an additional building because we only have a small barn-style building with a little kitchen, but we need more interior space because sometimes, and right now I can look outside my office and see a blanket of snow on the ground. Sometimes we get snow, even here in coastal North Carolina.
Yeah.
And when that happens, Sess actually has to take over 200 birds and get them caged up
Sure.
and put them in the interior little barn building.
Uh-huh.
So I think a realistic goal is that we could raise enough money to get another building erected so that there's another indoor space. And certainly I think maybe one goal would be just to have enough money in the bank account at any given time for emergency situations such as an emergency surgery a bird needs.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Something like that. So I don't think there's any unrealistic goals. I think all of us have very realistic goals. And I think it's just pretty much the biggest goal is just having everything that we could possibly need or want to properly care for the birds and having enough money in a bank account at any given time to do that.
Nice. So where is the best place online for people to keep up with both the Parrot Sanctuary and the stuff that you're doing?
Oh, okay. Well, CapeFearParrotSanctuary.org is the official Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary website.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of really great information. You can even sponsor a parrot. You can go onto that website and you can look at specific parrots to sponsor.
Okay.
And, have your own little parrot at someone else's house. We also have a Pirates for Parrots page on the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary website. That is a mouthful. And then, of course, we have our Facebook page, Pirates for Parrots NC. Okay. And that's where I always put information on the fundraising events that we're doing. And one thing about Pirates for Parrots is we are not a closed organization. Pirates for Parrots is kind of an umbrella organization, and we're not a crew, we're not a club. Nobody pays dues to be part of this. Anybody who wants to help raise awareness for the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, help support the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary either financially or help raise awareness. Anybody who wants to do that, is definitely a pirate for parrots.
Nice.
So, everybody from Talderoy at Studio City Tattoo to Todd Willis, Mr. Willis of the Loose Cannon Company, those gentlemen donated things. Even the people who I personally have never met, who share posts about the fundraising events that we do on Facebook. Every single one of those people, they're part of the Pirates for Parrots community.
Nice.
Now, one thing I would like to do, like I said, I live near the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary. It takes me exactly 13 minutes from my driveway to the Parrot Sanctuary. I am close by. Uh-huh. But some people don't live close to a parrot sanctuary, so they don't really get to experience, hanging out with 200 birds at one time.
Sure.
But there are other parrot sanctuaries. There's a really nice one in Florida run by a friend of mine, Daniel Christian Red. His parrot sanctuary is called Galleon Treasures, and he's always looking for volunteers. One of my goals is to be able to travel down to Florida and hang out with him and do a fundraiser for him.
Nice.
Because, we've got a relationship with him. So it's not just about us pirates who live here in North Carolina are going to serve Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary exclusively. It's really kind of thinking globally, acting locally, but trying to inspire other people to maybe help a parrot sanctuary that exists in their community. I know that down in Melbourne, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Melbourne, yeah. Florida. Yeah. So down there in Florida, there's a place called Mars, and I believe it's the Melbourne Avian Rescue Society. Anyway, there's a group down there, and there's a parrot sanctuary down there, and I know that there's a lot of pirates in that area who will help with fundraising efforts. So it'd be kind of nice if, Pirates for Parrots, my dream, my goal would be if Pirates for Parrots just kind of became a thing. Yeah. Something where pirates said, hey, we're pirates, and, we go together with parrots because Robert Louis Stevenson said so. And, Long John Silver had a friend that was a parrot, so because we've kind of got that literary connection and sort of that's kind of what the the general public kind of sees the stereotype as the pirate with the parrot. So I just think it would be really cool if more pirates wanted to get involved with parrot sanctuaries in their own area, because I know that they do exist. And if they don't exist close by, again, you can be a supporter. You can share a post on Facebook,
Yeah.
You can invite somebody to a fundraising event if you think they might be interested in going. And one thing that happens, animal organizations always take a backseat to humanitarian organizations. And that's just a fact, and there's nothing wrong with that, because, there's a lot of people in this world who need help. There are people who have cancer who need money to take care of their cancer treatments. There are family dynamics that may suffer, and those people may be financially needy. I live in Hurricane Alley. I've seen the devastation. I have friends as far as Key West, Florida, and, as north as New Jersey, who have had devastating things happen to their homes and their personal property because of hurricanes or bad weather. So, those of us who work with the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, all of the Pirates for Parrots, we don't have this false kind of delusion that this is the be-all, end-all organization. I think we all come to it from a point of, we understand that a lot of people don't give money to animal organizations because they feel like people need it more. And so that's really where it becomes, super awesome when the Pirates do step up to help with this, because it's really tough trying to convince people to part with their money and give it to a pretty bird.
Yeah. It's hard to convince people to give away their money to anything. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, it's tough. But see, here's the thing. Every little penny counts. I mean, if I can auction off an item on Facebook and it makes $25, hey, that's $25 more than we had yesterday.
Sure.
If we set up a needs drive and one family decides that they're going to bring over 10 boxes of cornbread mix because parrots love cornbread. Hey, that's 10 boxes of cornbread mix that isn't coming out of the budget from the Parrot Sanctuary, right? So, every little bit helps. And so, I think that I speak for Ces Erdman, the president of the Parrot Sanctuary, when I say that, he and I are both really appreciative to everybody. Pirates, local pirates, pirates who we've never met, members of the general public, anybody who wants to lend a hand in any way, we really appreciate it, because, we don't expect anything, and we're always super grateful for anybody who lends a hand, anybody who shares a post about the sanctuary or about a fundraiser that they're doing, people who donate stuff, people who show up to events. I mean, we're grateful for anybody who helps support the sanctuary in any way.
That's fantastic. And thank you for the information. That's all really great. I'm going to make sure that all the websites are linked up in the show notes so that people can go check it out. This has been really fun, Sophia. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I love checking in. I get so excited when I see that somebody who I know on Facebook but never met in real life, when you're interviewing them, because then I feel like, wow, I can get to know this person by listening to the podcast. This is so cool.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And are we going to see you in Long Beach this summer for the induction?
Yes. I already have my plane ticket. Well, I'm going to be visiting my mom. As luck would have it, I already had scheduled a trip to visit my mother and help her out. She's in her 90s and she's elderly and has some health issues. So I had already booked my trip and had my entire trip scheduled to visit my mom.
Nice.
And then found out that induction was going to happen at Long Beach, and it all kind of coincided. So it's going to be super special for me, especially because I try to go to Long Beach Pirate Invasion as frequently as I can, as long as I'm able to visit my mom in California during that time frame. And I always feel like I'm the token East Coast pirate. So this time it's going to be super cool because some of my really good East Coast pirate friends are going to be there with me.
Yep, it's going to be good. And I'll be there too.
Yeah.
So.
Yay! nice. So I get to meet you in person too.
For sure.
Neat. I like that. I really like that. That's cool. I'll have to bring some token parrot feathers for everybody.
There we go.
That's what I did last time. Yeah, I brought a bunch of the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary parrot feathers, and I'm hoping they ended up in some really awesome pirate hats somewhere.
Oh, I'll bet. Yes, I'll bet. Well, that's great. Sophia, thanks so much again for coming on the show. I appreciate your time, and I hope we can talk again soon.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Well, you have a great evening, and thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. And there it is, friends. That is my interview with Sophia Cancelli from the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary. She seems very nice. I can't wait to meet her in person. That's going to be cool. We're going to see her in Long Beach where she picks up her Leviathan Award. That's going to be great. Coming up, we are going to hear from Ces Erdman, who is the owner of the sanctuary. We weren't able to get them both on at the same time, so we're going to hear Ces's point of view on some things. And don't worry, we're going to talk about all different stuff because he's got a different point of view on the whole thing. It's very, very interesting. Again, you can find them at capefearparrotsanctuary.org or on Facebook at Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, which seems kind of obvious. We are sponsored today by Pirate Radio, the Treasure Coast, WKKC-DB, playing the best music and pirate radio talk. Listen to this show, Under the Crossbones, on both their stations. Just go to pirateradiothetreasurecoast.com and pirateradiotc.com, and don't forget to download the apps. The music station app is called Pirate Radio WKKC-DB, and the talk station is called Pirate Radio Talk. All right, so go get that, and everybody will be happy. And if you're listening on Pirate Radio right now, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Okay, let's get into interview number 2, and this is Ces Erdman, and he is the owner of the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, and we're going to hear about his angle on the whole thing. All right, here's Ces Erdman. Dig it. So, you are the head of the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, and we just heard from Sophia a little bit about her part of the project. Tell me, and sort of how it's structured and everything, but tell me, how did you come to open a parrot sanctuary?
Well, I did parrot rescue for a long time, and you get the bird in, give them new cage, new toys, all the proper tools, and then adopt them back out. And it's just not very successful. A lot of people do it, and that's great. So I did that for years, and I thought, why do they keep getting rehome? What is the problem? Well, they make bad pets generally.
Uh-huh.
So, and I thought, why are they bad pets? Because they're bored. They're just everything. Being a pet, everything has been taken away from them. Everything that's natural to them.
Uh-huh.
So that they can bite, they can be aggressive, they can scream, be destructive. So by putting them outside in larger areas and with other birds, it solves their behavior issues immediately.
That's interesting. My girlfriend's parents had birds for a long time, and they can be very difficult pets, and they do get bored very easily, it seems. And none of them like me. I know that for sure. But so that does make sense. So you went from, why do you think, besides that, why do you think that adopting them out? Because I would assume that you were adopting them out to people who had been vetted in some way or had birds previously. Why do you think those adoptions out didn't work that well?
I think people mean well when they adopt a parrot. Look at dogs and cats. The rate that they get rehomed. And they're a pretty easy pet,
uh-huh.
and they don't live very long. Parrots can live 40, 50, 60 years.
Sure.
It's impossible for anyone to say, yes, I can care for a pet for 40 years. No one can guarantee that,
right.
And it's not, a dog transitions into a new home easily, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Parrots don't. If you had a parrot, you and your wife, and you got rid of the parrot loved you and not the wife, well, when you rehome it may not like anyone in the new family.
Right.
And, they can come around, but sometimes they don't come around. It's not like a dog.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is there, because sometimes when you adopt, say, a dog or a cat, probably not cat so much, but there is an element of the dog picking the family as well, whether they approach them right away or whether they hold back. There is some sort of that type of thing there. Is there an equivalent of that in the bird community for adoptions?
There is. And the other problem with the adoption is a dog, it may take a while. When we adopted our Chihuahua, and it took him about 2 weeks, to get used to us because he wasn't a rescue. The lady, died from cancer. So he was very happy, came to our house. Well, he was mourning her. He was not happy. He wasn't a rescue situation,
Sure.
So it took him a couple weeks to warm up to us. But parrots, they mate for life. So when they pick a person, that's their mate for life. They don't plan on finding another mate. So when they get rehomed, the transition period is a lot longer than dogs and cats.
Huh.
My dog loves me, but if you took him, he'll be fine in a couple of days as long as you feed him.
Right.
The parrot may not. We got a bird in this week. Very friendly to the husband, didn't like the wife. So you think, well, maybe it's a man's bird, because most parrots will pick a sex, will pick male or female.
Huh.
Well, the bird does not like me. He's lunging at me, just totally hates me.
Huh.
So now you have it's not a pet, but what if I adopted this bird? Well, he doesn't like me. What are the chances? I'm not sticking my hand in a cage with an animal with a knife on its face,
Sure.
So I can't handle him. He's just going to be stuck in the cage until he's able to go to the sanctuary. So it just, they will bite the hand that feeds them, and they may never warm up to you ever.
Interesting. Interesting.
And now you have an animal that is literally stuck in a cage,
right,
forever, because it's not going to allow you to interact with it. So I would have to rehome that bird. I couldn't keep that bird because it doesn't like me.
Right.
So now it's into its third home. That's what happens.
Sure.
They last about 2 years in a home generally.
Wow, really? That is very short. Yeah.
And imagine if they could live to be 60 years old, even older than that.
Yeah.
Imagine how many homes they could go through.
Oh my gosh. So you must run into that problem with some of the birds that are coming into your sanctuary then.
Correct. And there's a different reason. I mean, like that bird, he could be upset that he got rehomed. He misses his family. He thinks I'm just babysitting him, and he's like, I can't wait for my parents to come pick him back up.
Right.
I have to watch these birds mourn for the previous owners.
Yeah.
And it's very sad.
Yeah, I imagine so. How did you originally get into parrot rescue?
I had a pet cockatiel when I was 3 years old. So and my parents had birds. We had birds in the house all growing up. It was just very common to me, for me to have a bird in the house. My parents had a bird sitting business at one point. And then when I got a little older, more stable as an adult, I thought, I'll get a parrot again.
Uh-huh.
Then people started calling, can you take my parrot? Can you take my parrot? And I just had no idea there was such a need for that, because I wasn't involved in that world really. So people were just bringing me birds. I'd come home and there'd be birds on the doorstep, So I thought, wow, we'll do parrot rescue, take them in and, rehome them. And before I started the sanctuary, I had 4 birds in the house, 2 macaws, Amazon, and an eclectus. And they drove me mad. I mean, it was, they were all friendly. So when you get home, they all went out of the cage. Well, They can't get out at the same time because they'll attack each other. So you're getting one out. It's not like a dog. It's not just wandering in your house. You have to literally hold it.
Right.
I'm like, I need to be doing something else right now. Like, I can't just hold you. And then I have 3 other, the other 3 are screaming while I'm trying to do that, and I thought, why? Oh my God, they're driving me crazy. But I would never rehome them because I wasn't going to give up on them. I just thought, why are they so terrible, And that's what it is. They're just bored. Uh-huh. Everything that's natural to them is all taken away.
Yeah.
Lock yourself in your half bath with maybe no window, and then you'd have no interaction with any other humans. And then when you do get to have interaction, it's when they decide it's okay for you. The humans decide it's okay for you to take a bath. You take a bath now. Yeah. You get out now. They have no control over what they can do and when they can do it.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people put themselves in that position.
Certainly. Yeah. Not for any more than 20 minutes at a time, and that's only if I've got a phone. Yeah.
Yeah. To do that for 30 years, and then you're going to wonder why you're screaming and chewing things and biting people and tearing up the bathroom. Lock a dog in a crate 24 hours a day. It's going to have behavior issues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when you have the birds at the sanctuary, I've seen pictures of some of the enclosures and things that you have, and they're certainly larger than the average cage. What other things do you give the parrots to do? That seems like a weird question, but what are the things that keep them busy, that keep them happy?
A lot of it's just having each other, and that's a hard one to explain. And also, just as a side note, when we're doing this, I can't come across like I'm bashing the pet bird people. Sure. Because I can't do that.
Oh, of course. No, and many of them are well taken care of, I'm sure.
Right, yeah. The 4 that I was talking about, 3 of them live there now, and they're totally different birds. They want nothing to do with me anymore, no behavior issues. They're just content. And a lot of it is they're not waiting for me to do something with them. They have no need for humans that they know of at all. So if they want to take a bath, they can take a bath. If they want to sleep, they can sleep. If they want to fly, they can fly. So there's no like weird demand from us. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they're happy. They're just and they can see other birds and other cars and planes and fresh air and clouds. That's a hard one to explain.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's just a level of autonomy that most other sort of pet animals don't necessarily require or desire. Talking about dogs and cats. Cats maybe. Cats don't give a crap about anybody. But
it's been bred out of them. We've bred so much of the animals out of them. But look, dogs can still bite and have behavior issues. So imagine most parrots in captivity are 1 or 2 generations from being wild caught. So they are not. Dogs are domestic. Parrots are tamed. Huge difference.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be tamed. And how do we tame them? We take them away from their mothers as a baby and imprint on them and force them to want us instead of another bird. And that's right when the problem starts. And it goes down, spirals downhill, from there. So by putting them outside and just they don't have any, like the reason why they talk is because they're trying to get our attention. It's for a reaction.
Yeah.
Well, down there, they get no reaction, so they don't do it. They don't need to. I think it's just more natural to them. And if I hadn't seen it with my own birds, I wouldn't have believed it. You can literally hear it. When they're fed, you can hear a pin drop at the sanctuary.
Really?
And I've got about 14 birds in the house right now because it's wintertime. They can't go down there. And it's maddening. Like, it's horrible. Because they're all bored. They've all been shuffled around somewhere else. They don't know who I am. Why did my owner of 25 years get rid of me?
Right.
I don't like you. I don't like this food. It's just such a different, the experience of being at home is so much different than dogs and cats.
Yeah. It seems much more like fostering a child more than a dog or a cat.
Yeah, I mean, it's very intense to them, and like I said, watching them mourn their owners is very, very sad.
Yeah,
it's just pitiful to them, So, and they mate for life. So in the wild, if their mate dies, they're not going to remate. So that also explains how strong that bond is that we are forcing on them, and then getting rid of them later on.
Right.
Because we're too busy, or my son's disabled, my husband, we got divorced. I didn't know it pooped, So, and honestly, most of the birds we get in are in their 20s, and most of the birds we have are from single families, or only had one family.
Okay.
Because we don't do a lot of rescue per se.
Yeah.
We charge a fee to take birds in.
Okay.
So the people that are coming to us say, "I love this bird. I would have never gotten rid of it, but my husband died. Something happened. My son has Down syndrome. I'm going to pay you to care for this bird.
Yeah.
I've had it for 25 years. And a lot of the people have had the birds longer than they've had their kids. So those birds, it's hard for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they didn't plan on giving up on them, but something so tragic has happened that's how they had to make this decision. And they're not going to rehome them.
Right.
They refuse to put them in another home because they know what's going to happen.
Sure.
So I want that bird that's pretty and tall. 2 years down the road, a girlfriend moves in. I don't like the bird. Bird's gone. So.
That's really intriguing. That's very, very interesting. So how then did you get connected with sort of the pirate community in Sophia and that crowd there?
Yeah, I think that Sophia, she teaches at a college, and they were doing a volunteer workshop. All different nonprofits came trying to get volunteers, and I think that's when I met her. Somehow, I feel like I've known her forever, and somehow it just clicked. And it's all pirates and parrots, and she used to come out and with her pirate friends to my open houses where 20 people would come, just a complete waste of time. And the poor pirates are dressed up in just gorgeous outfits. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, but they stuck with me through it, and now it's turned. Now she's our fundraising coordinator. She's taken us to a different level.
That's great.
She is amazing, and that's part of it. Our budget next year is $53,000. I can't do everything anymore. I used to be able to do it all. Now I can't, and she does so much that people don't even realize how much she does. So, and the pirates, it looks good with the pirates. I've got my show, and I got all these awesome looking pirates walking around. It's really cool.
Sure, certainly, absolutely. So, what does your long-term plan for the sanctuary look like? Is there a long-term plan, or you just kind of take it as it comes? Yeah,
we always want to grow. We'd like to purchase land. That's one of our big investments we're trying to come up with. We'd like to just keep growing. And, when people mention parrot rescues, the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary is where they want to go. And, people, copy what we're doing. This is what we're doing. They'll try to emulate it because we always need more rescues. The parrot rescues do not fight. They work together because it's never going to stop,
Sure.
And in fact, it's only getting worse.
Yeah. So do you not necessarily recommend those birds as a pet in general then?
I don't personally.
Mm-hmm.
People can't keep a dog for 12 years.
Right.
Much less a parrot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's an unrealistic, I don't think birds should be pets at all, but I can't say that, in this. Putting a bird in a cage is animal abuse, basically.
Uh-huh.
There's no other way to look at it.
Uh-huh.
So, but, I have to be, I have a very big following with pet bird owners, and some people are wonderful bird owners. That's great.
Sure.
But that bird is not getting what it needs.
Right.
No matter how good you are to that bird, it's not good enough, So.
Interesting.
I've got a bird here that lives with me. He's one of my 4, but he's 61 years old, and he's disabled, and he can't live out there. So he paints canvases as a fundraiser and, goes to all my shows with me.
Nice.
In fact, he raised $9,000 last year.
That's great. Yeah, I saw some of the paintings.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I just don't think, with our lives, it's not like the olden days. We don't, our parents don't die. We don't move into their old house. We don't live in the same town. I mean, it's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
We travel, we move, and birds don't adjust very well. I always refer to the dog because everyone can relate to dogs. But my dog is fine. If we move, he'll be like, okay, where do I poop? It's not this horrific feel to him to be moved. It'd be like moving a cat. Cats hate moving. It'd be worse than a cat. Like you just, oh my God, how dare you?
Yeah, right. That's great.
And when the bird's being loud, you can't stop it. They don't,
Sure.
Yelling at them doesn't fix it. They don't have, if I'm stern with my dog, he's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Parrots are like, they don't have that feeling. It doesn't exist in them.
That's really interesting. Well, I can't even get my girlfriend to get a dog, so we're definitely not getting any birds.
And there's some that are, like little cockatiels and things like that. That's great because, you can go to work and they're fine. You can go out of town for a couple of days. Once you get the larger birds, you're lucky to be able to leave the house for a week or a couple of days. There's just no way.
Yeah.
You have to get a bird sitter, and that's even, it's difficult.
Sure, yeah. That's really good information, though, because I imagine there are certainly anybody in the pirate community has at some point thought, I wonder if I should get a parrot. And now they know they should probably not get a parrot.
And they do. And the pirate people are all, they're wonderful, pet bird owners and
sure.
stuff. But it's getting out of control with they're breeding them by the millions.
Yeah.
So you can go on Craigslist today and get a parrot for free.
Huh.
And when my parents had parrots growing up, they paid, I think, $3,000 for their macaw. He was on sale because his beak was crooked.
Uh-huh.
Then they had to buy a cage for $2,000 or $3,000 because there wasn't something as Craigslist.
Yeah.
So that was a $5,000 investment. They had to think about that.
Right.
But they got rid of the birds too. They didn't last. Once my sister and I were in high school and we had jobs and bands and they had to drive us to everything and they were working, the bird was out of control because he wasn't getting the attention he was used to.
Right.
So even my parents didn't make it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah,
and people
definitely.
on my Facebook they're always, oh, never rehome my bird. I'm like, you can't say that. You could be diagnosed with cancer tomorrow.
Sure.
You get in a car wreck tomorrow.
Yeah.
You cannot judge people that way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I imagine, just some of the circumstances can't be avoided, and you can't, like you said, you can't judge them for that. But
Right.
It's tough to deal with either way. That's interesting. This is great information. So where's the best place online for people to keep up with what you're doing?
It is Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary.org.
Okay, great.
Our Facebook is the best. It's good. We have a website. We just pay someone to do it. It's great. But it just doesn't get updated very often because I do not have time to sit in front of a computer. But Facebook is almost every day,
Great.
Stuff popping up there.
Okay, good. I'll make sure that that's all linked up in the show notes so that people can keep up and donate and do all that good stuff. So this has been great, Seth. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate all the great information.
Well, thank you for having me. So
you
And
bet.
that
We'll
was
talk again soon.
Ces Erdman,
Right.
owner
Okay.
of the Cape
Thanks.
Fear Parrot Sanctuary. Fun interviews with both of them. Hope you enjoyed them. I hope you learned a little bit more about parrots. I know I did. And not going to buy one now. I will go visit parrots where parrots are. Wherever parrots might be, that's where we go visit parrots. And of course, if you want to find out more about what they are up to, go to CapeFearParrotSanctuary.org. And on Facebook, it's Facebook.com/Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary, which for some reason is hard to say. I don't know what it is, but it's easy to type. So go find them over there and see what they're doing and see how you can help the parrots too. All right, that's our show for today, kids. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. Go to CapeFearParrotSanctuary.org.
to find out about all the stuff my guests are up to, hit underthecrossbones.com/132 for all the show notes about this episode. And we've got some great episodes coming up next week. Anthony Cummins, a.k.a. Captain Tones. It's going to be an interesting one, you guys. I'm just letting you know now. After that, Jordan Wiley. I'm so excited about this one. I just recorded this one the other day. He is a Somali pirate expert. Not a guy who just wrote a book or wrote an article or read some books and articles. Dude faced them down in person. Actual maritime security facing down Somali pirates. So, Jordan Wiley coming up in a couple weeks. Samuel Marquis, author of Blackbeard, The Birth of America. That's a really great one, too. So, super cool episodes coming up and more to come. All right? I'll see you next week.